Binding of Isaac is procedurally... You know what? You clicked on this video, so I'm assuming you know what Isaac is. The game's 400 plus items feature many familiars that can assist Isaac in a very unique way. This list will be focusing on those particular items. What makes a good familiar? That's a pretty subjective opinion to each player. Some prefer the high defense, low risk ones, while others prefer extra offensive punch. I'll be counting down what I believe are my personal top 10 familiars in the game. The major criteria here for those about to comment your distaste is that orbitals are a different category altogether, so that means no sack dagger. Get ready for early video disappointment. I can hear the fans crying out now! Not like that though. Anyway, Dark Bum is my number 10 pick for a very specific reason, and it's not like he isn't on the list, so stop complaining. Dark Bum can actually be considered overpowered for like two characters I actually hate playing as. What Dark Bum does is he picks up red hearts and converts them into soul or spirit hearts at a 1.5 to 1 ratio. This can pad a lot of damage heavy runs where you might not be playing particularly well. It's a heavy favorite for newer players for this reason. However, if you reach a skill level where he quickly becomes just a heart minefield generator, and even if you can grab those loose ones to make up for a hit or two, it doesn't really make him useful enough to be any higher. Again, I can imagine you just clacking away at your keyboards for the Relic being this low, let alone above the almighty Dark Bum. But hear me out. Where Dark Bum requires red heart drops to convert into soul hearts, the Relic just drops one guaranteed every 4 rooms. This, coupled with a good dodging and proper play, can lead to you having a healthy supply of both red HP and the cushion hearts. It has an almost no synergies with it, and so it only lands at number 9. Picking up the Succubus familiar spawns a single Succubus that then bounces around the room. Succubus has a medium-sized aura around it that deals damage around a third of Isaac's current damage to all enemies within it. This effect can be quite potent once Isaac's damage continues to get higher, as you might imagine. Though still yet unconfirmed, the aura does not appear to include damage multipliers added onto Isaac's tiers, and instead goes off of his standard rate of tier damage. If you do have any source to cite where this can be confirmed or not, please comment it down below or tweet it at me, I'd love to know. Along with its great aura damage, and the aura also gives Isaac a 1.5 damage multiplier while he's inside of it. And yes, multiple succubi do stack with one another. Think of it like a Venn diagram of potent damage. The one synergy with this familiar is BFFs, as one could imagine, where the aura doubles in area. Succubus overall is a great damage boost and a reliable way to clear weaker foes, but it requires far too much unnecessary coordination to make it any higher on the list. I really wanted Bumbo to be higher up on the list, and hear me out. He holds a very special place in the Isaac community's heart, and he is even getting his own goddamn game. Bumbo is a familiar that starts off as a small little bumhead that collects stray coins. As he gains coins, he levels up and becomes more powerful while accruing new abilities. The level 2 Bumbo wanders around dropping random consumables. Level 3 Bumbo wanders around firing tears in the same direction as Isaac, enemies dropping coins if he hits them. And then there's the level 4 Bumbo. Bumbo doesn't fire tears anymore and instead viciously stalks enemies and bosses, dealing contact damage and dropping bombs. Bumbo has saved far more poor runs than I can think of. But beyond even his fantastic level 4 abilities, he also has the chance of dropping chests and pedestal items. This guy is a great 1-2 punch for any run. With all of his dudes plus sides and praise, you may be curious as to why he's this low then. Well, that's where I weigh in with my typical risk versus reward metric. Bumbo can be a great addition to many runs, but the massive downside is that he requires a ton of coins to make him peak out. You can level him up to max level with just around 24 coins, so it's not a huge investment, but he does also require great care, as the max level has this untimely ability of throwing bombs at the most inconvenient times. I love Bumbo, and he's a great addition to nearly any run, but he sadly lands at number 7. One of the most low maintenance familiars the game has to offer that can sometimes be even forgotten about during runs. That is until the giant leg crashes down and one-shots most enemies in the game. DDL is a fantastic for crowd control, he's great for low damage shielding runs, and he can actually prove quite useful against most non-final bosses. He can kill early floor bosses in just a few hits. It's a nice reliable damage doer that crashes into the ground every 3 to 4 seconds depending on your target. As you can imagine, this guy works quite well with Gnawed Leaf and Box of Friends. Gnawed Leaf guarantees a win. It's a slow win, but it's a win. Seeing as how he cannot harm you at all, DDL is one of the first items on this list without a negative side to him. The Censer is the only Angel Room item on this list, and yes, that's spoilers, Holy Water's balls. The Relic is not included in that, as it can also be found in other pools. But the Censer was on one of the easier runs for me to unlock it when Afterbirth was released. Killing Ultra Greed with Maggie wasn't too difficult at all. And the payout is probably one of the most defense-heavy items in the game. It's more effective than the Soul and the Circle of Protection, and it's more potent than the Nightlight. The Censer spawns a familiar that follows Isaac with a large aura around it. The aura slows down all mobs and projectiles within it. In combination with items like Soul and the Circle of Protection mentioned earlier, it can lead to really unique synergies, basically letting you not get hit. However, the item does have two drawbacks. It doesn't slow down bosses, and it becomes less and less effective the further back it is in the conga line. However, with Child's Leash, it retains its usefulness. Juicy Sack is one of those familiars that I think gets either a bad reputation or is just plain forgotten about by most players. Tons of Isaac people haphazardly pick it up or re-roll into it without a thought, but never quite give it its proper day in the spotlight. I love this damn sack. Yeah, I said it. Juicy Sack spawns a floating spider sack behind Isaac that drools a slowing creep trail. The other plus side of this item that most people don't even know about or don't care about is that it spawns 1 to 2 blue spiders after each room cleared. This is incredibly useful as those spiders, as most know, are potent damage doers. This item is what I like to call a conglomerate item, an item that is an amalgamation of 2 or more other items. This is effectively a passive version of Box of Spiders and Ball of Tar, except it spawns spiders every room and doesn't give you the slow shot, granted. Juicy Sack deserves a little more love than it tends to get. So you might be thinking that I'm breaking my criteria here for Smartfly as he's naturally an orbital in his own state, but nay, he's not an orbital. But upon being damaged, he activates and then turns into a lunatic. The fly chases down enemies and bosses alike, dealing immense contact damage. The plus sides of the Smartfly? Okay, here we go. In Greed Mode and Boss Rush, he stays active the entire time, just doling out damage to anything he sees. The fly doesn't count as an orbital as his orbiting state, so he can still have 3 others. The fly counts towards Beelzebub, and he can kill the Haunt by himself in about 8 to 10 seconds. Smartfly is almost always worth grabbing if you happen to cross him. Did I mention the Box of Friends synergy, or the fact that getting a permanent 2 with Diplopia? He's good, okay? He's good. Yeah, I just did that. Why? Because I can. Anyway, the Incubus is a top tier item in the game. Incubus is Lilith's starting familiar, but quite instantly becomes a player's favorite once unlocked. Why? Because upon picking him up, he spawns behind Isaac and copies all the tiers that Isaac is shooting. Some effects don't copy, but the great majority of them do. So, you have Soy Milk Ipecac Cricket's body? Yeah. Well, now you have 2 constant streams of hailing death fire. There are a few items that break Incubus, however, the primary one being Mom's Knife. Incubus and Mom's Knife causes the Incubus to have a horrible range and really hard to use with melee. However, I really don't like Mom's Knife, so I don't care if it breaks the familiar. Again, as with most familiars on this list, you can imagine that they are just only to be improved by Box of Friends or by using Diplopia on them. And now for probably the most polarizing choice for number 1, Rotten Baby. Rotten Baby is the unsung hero of so many Isaac runs. In fact, I'd wager that many of your runs have been soft carried by this little zombie bro. He shoots out blue flies. He shoots out free blue flies. Have I mentioned that he shoots out the same blue flies instead of tears for free? This guy is a damn war hero. This little son of a bitch has more heart in him than all of Isaac's heart. And that's not a joke about Isaac's heart being shitty, because it's really kind of fun in some occasions. It's more of a joke on how good this little bastard is. The only, and I mean only, downside of Rotten Baby is that BFFs doesn't change his damage, but Hive Mind does, while also improving all other flies and spiders. And since he shoots free flies, I mentioned that he shoots free flies, right? His damage is automatically pretty great on floor 1 and can only be improved throughout the game. Rotten Baby is my #1 Isaac familiar because he can always be a good addition. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to let me know what your favorite Isaac familiars are, let me know down below in the comments. And if you'd like to actually see me live and chat, stop by my Twitch channel and hang out during one of my live streams. I'm also on Twitter as well, so you can send me cat pictures. I don't fuck Twitter.